Ralph Honigstein with us to talk about another story regarding Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho. An English newspaper going big on it. Ralph, what's it about and what do you think of it?
Well, the Sun had a story on Thursday morning saying there was a huge bust-up between Jose and Paul Pogba in the wake of the Leicester result and in the wake of Pogba's comments, who came out and said, I want to say a few things, but I can't because I would be fined, which of course was naturally taken as a huge dig at Mourinho. This is a Mourinho who had made him captain, who'd been very complimentary of him after the Leicester win, but nevertheless feels that the player perhaps wants away, or at least has some kind of a resentment perhaps left over from last year when the relationship was very much strained. United, we have to say, have denied this. They've come up very strongly saying there's nothing in it. But I think even if the bust-up did not happen in the way that the Sun described it, we can be pretty sure, just judging by Pogba's demeanour, that he's not entirely happy with how Jose has behaved to him, perhaps how he's behaving now. And this is heading for a bit of an impasse, because I don't think that he will be allowed to leave at the end of the transfer window. I don't think that Mourinho will leave, so they'll have to work something out at least until January.
I mean, look, truth or not, Mourinho can have little complaints if any player is using the media as a platform to air grievances. I mean, I'm not condoning it, but here's a manager who, whether this story is true or not, here is a manager who has hung, particularly in recent times, 18 months or so, has hung lots of players out over the media with little snidey comments or stuff like that about being injured and the way they've trained and the way they've conducted themselves. So he's been very bad at it. The other side of the coin is, let's be frank about this, Jose Mourinho needs Paul Pogba more than Paul Pogba needs Jose Mourinho at this moment in time. He is clambering to try and keep up with Manchester City. The other is a World Cup winner who's at the peak of his career. So Mourinho needs Pogba. Pogba needs him to an extent, but really he could hang him out to dry.
The story was, you know, if you want to leave, you've got to ask for a transfer. Yep. I can't see this ending well. I don't know how this is going to work out between these two.
If you have a row with a manager, and I'm sure we've all had a row with a manager before,
Look at you sat next to.
And I had some big rows with one or two managers. There's no coming back from it. You can try and make it up, but that resentment's always there. They're always looking to probably try and get rid of you at some point. You're trying to undermine the manager in the dressing room because you don't like him, and you're trying to get him out. Pogba won't. He'll have his supporters in the dressing room. Lots of the players probably don't like Mourinho at the moment. His attitude throughout the summer has been particularly poor. I think there's only going to be one winner, and that will be Paul Pogba.
What do you think, Shaq?
Well,
who's more important to United, Mourinho or Pogba?
Right now, Paul Pogba. I think Mourinho is under far too much pressure. Paul Pogba, just by virtue of being a player and Manchester United, can't kind of replace him now that the English transfer window is closed anyway. Paul Pogba, for the time being, is more important. Bust-ups are part and parcel of football clubs. They happen all the time. Very rarely are they spoken about. I find this, and the fact that it's been leaked, to be the concern. Somebody quite clearly engineering either a way out or the departure of somebody else. Now we can try to figure out who that is, but I think this relationship had been badly damaged a long time ago. I don't think this changes anything about either of their futures.
This is a toxic relationship from the beginning. Yeah. It was Mourinho saying that he wants the Paul Pogba that plays for France to play like that for United. Obviously, there are different elements to the French team. This is a way he can't play with United. It's mind games. From the beginning, he's hung him out to dry. From the beginning of Mourinho's career in England, it's mind games with the opposition, it's insecurities with his players, trying to do anything he can to control them. This is the one player in his stable that right now he can't control. And
did he try and throw an olive branch to him at the end of the Leicester game when he said he would,
I think the olive branch was the captain's armband.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, captain's armband. And then he said to him, said to the press, he was magnificent. He put himself on the line. I didn't expect him to play as many minutes as he did. He's been phenomenal. He was absolutely excellent. All those sort of things. And then Pogba went the other way and destroyed all that.
Well, this is it, because Pogba did it on purpose. He walked through the mix zone on purpose.
Right, and listen, people have said, listen, Ferguson got rid of Roy Keane. Ferguson got rid of Jaap Stam when he saw it becoming a problem. Ferguson got rid of David Beckham when he thought Beckham was trying to outgrow everything about Manchester United.
Another one.
Van Nistelrooy. But Fergie was ruling the roost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was still hugely successful, had been for years, and was churning out team after team after team. He had the full backing of the board, the shareholders, the owners, and he was still producing the goods, and the rest of the players liked him. Right, we've got a total opposite here. We've got a coach who's fighting fire after fire, who seems to be almost arguing inwardly as well as outwardly, who fails to show anybody that he's happy, who doesn't make you think that the rest of the players in the dressing room are happy, that doesn't make you think going into work is something you want to do every day. It's fighting with his top stars. This is completely opposite from when Ferguson got rid of top players at Man United. So anybody who thinks this has got similarities to Ferguson fighting the top players is completely wrong.
Sorry, Cus, we haven't got much time. I want to just finish off with Raf. Is this Paul Pogba, Raf, do you think, trying to instigate a media campaign against Mourinho, trying to get him out?
I don't think he's trying to get him out, but I think he's trying to use his position and his stature now after winning the World Cup and saying, I've been handled badly. And whatever he's saying now does not take away from the stuff he said before and how I was being briefed against. I think that's what he's saying, that's what he wants to say. And at the very least, I think he wants to make that displeasure known and tell people that he hasn't forgotten what happened before and that no armband and you know, you've been magnificent and you've been a monster will make him forget that. And I think that is the worry for United and for Mourinho.
Interesting stuff from Tony Cruz regarding Mesut Ozil's retirement. The parts in his statement that are rightly addressed are unfortunately overshadowed by the significantly higher amount of nonsense. He continues, I think he knows very well that racism within the national team and the German association does not exist. Raf, what do you make of this?
Well, the first thing to understand is that Mesut Ozil and Toni Kroos have never been the best of friends, which might explain why Kroos went in a little bit harder than some of his teammates. But that still doesn't explain and certainly doesn't really apologise for the fact that he completely misunderstands what Mesut Ozil said. He did not accuse the national team of being racist. He did not accuse the German FA as an organisation to be racist to him. He specifically spoke about the politics and the behaviour of the FA president, Reinhard Grindel, and he spoke of the wider reaction on social media, certain newspapers who were discriminating him in his view. So what Toni Kroos is saying is completely missing the point. And unfortunately, it was echoed by other teammates who all have said, we don't know what he's talking about. There is no racism in the national team. Yes, that might be true. Ozil never said that it was, but they're completely failing to address the real issue that he feels he's been forced out and has suffered a lack of protection from those around him.
How concerning is that, Raf, that no one seems to be addressing the real issue, as you say?
It's hugely concerning. It's a missed opportunity, to put it mildly, but I think it's kind of sadly indicative of an environment where people prefer to answer the easy question, racism in the national team, of course not, what is he thinking about, and not really addressing the bigger issue, racism when it comes to behaviour in the stadium, racism when it comes to behaviour in people on social media, and that lack of protection he received both from his teammates and from the German FA in the person of the President Reinhard Grindel. Nobody wants to talk about this. Instead, they focus on the easy stuff and try to from a point of naivety, maybe from a point of just not wanting to engage with the issue. But of course, it discredits the overall argument if they can sort of pick holes in it. But it's really knocking down a straw man argument because he's never made it in the first place.
It has been quite an impact that Wayne Rooney has made since joining DC United. Remember, they were bottom of the East, and when they made the move to MLS, they moved up to 8th. They still got games in hand. A lot of playoff talk now heard. Has this surprised you?
Not necessarily. I think 32 years old, he still has a lot left in the tank. And if you're trying to tell me going into his debut in Major League Soccer that he wouldn't have been head above just anybody else between the ears, I would have told you you're crazy. I think he's proven his worth now. There is this sense of belief with Wayne Rooney. Most people would have thought a player of his caliber would have just came down and taken the paycheck, would have been on holiday, but he's proved otherwise. He proved he cares about the game, he cares about his teammates. It's a big salary with it, but up until this moment, he's proven his worth.
It's working well so far, isn't it? Because we weren't sure was it going to be a Gerrard or a Lampard situation, but he seems to have gone in, enjoyed it, and is leading the team.
If you're committed to it and you're not overhiring what we would call a jolly up, which clearly he's not. He's very professional. You don't come in as a 16-year-old at Everton and play for the longevity and have the longevity that he had. and such a standard he had over the years. If you're not a good professional, he's over here. He's learning about his teammates. He's learning about the league, the strengths and weaknesses, and how he can pick some of the defending's poor. There's no getting away from it, and he will capitalise on that. So fair play. He's looking fitter because he's getting more game time, and the younger guys around about him will only get better with players like that. There.
And they're able to change the way they play. Most of the games he started at the centre forward, and players have tried to run beyond him. Then as Matix comes on as a substitute, he then drops that little bit deeper, and when they're really chasing the game, they might get more players forward, and he goes in and even deeper on. He keeps switching the play. His passing is his best aspect of his game. We saw him run and score the goal, but his switches of play are still brilliant. He still has a great ping on him out to each wing. And I think he's been a revelation.
I have to say, Rooney's performances haven't surprised me, how good he's been for DC United. What has surprised me is how good DC have been. Just in terms of their own mentality. This was a team that was rooted to the bottom of the table.
And he's got the best out of Costa as well, who now looks a really...
All of a sudden, we are having realistic conversations about DC into the playoffs. You saw that in the last game against Orlando, where 2-2 in injury time, a DC of a few weeks ago probably would have happily taken a point even against a 10-man Orlando. Yet they're willing to throw a goalkeeper on because they know they have to win, and they believe they can do it, and they get it. The response of DC United to Wayne Rooney's arrival has been the surprising element here, and very good.
But we've seen this with Los Angeles, with Zlatan. Anytime a player of that caliber comes on, it immediately increases the level of the rest of the team. There's a sense of belief there. And now a Galaxy team that's not very good defensively, not very good in other aspects, is winning games just like this DC United team.
The big worry for Wayne Rooney coming in, and we talked about it, was that because the team that he was going to DC were so poor at that time, that he was going to come in and be another one of those that was just completely dragged down. And the head gets down, and all of a sudden you just want to get yourself back to England, and the team are not playing well. And all of a sudden you're looking around the dressing room and he ain't very good, and he ain't very good. And why the hell's he even a footballer? All that sort of nonsense. But as Hert said, it's had the opposite effect. Not every player has that effect on a dressing room. And luckily for Wayne, the players have responded, because had it gone the other way, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult to go out there and play when you're in a slump. And luckily for them, they've picked up.
He looks like he's enjoying it as well. He's not just playing with he's enjoying his football. He's got a smile on his face. He wants to congratulate others when they do well. He's not throwing his arms up in the air when the ball doesn't come to him, like one or two other players that have come over from the Premier League have done. I think he's been...
Well, he was playing at Everton in the end when Allardyce was there, and things weren't going great in general, but he was getting hauled off all the time.
Didn't he still end up as a leading goal scorer at Everton? I mean, there's lots of talent with this player. And listen, we've said it many times. Right? You could have said it could have been a Lampard situation here. It wasn't. He is...
Was Lampard that bad here?
You know,
For the first few weeks.
The first season,
Gerrard
when he
didn't
first
have a good
got here,
time, I know
when he
that.
first got here, and a lot of elements.
Late.
Yeah,
He was injured.
Yeah, he was injured. A lot of elements he didn't understand. The turf, the travel, his teammates.
Travel again.
No, this is a common thing. But he, like you said, he's not once mentioned travel. He's not once mentioned the caliber or the level of his play or the league. He's gone about his business in a very professional manner. And every ball he disputes, 50-50 or not, he wants to win. He wants to make it his last.
Hello, welcome to Extra Time, everybody. Thank you once again for all your tweets. The first one is a subject that we dealt with on Monday, and it was the fact that Robbo is a godfather to two children, which surprised me because I didn't think you. But obviously, why does it surprise you?
I'm very thoughtful.
Well, because it's Robbo.
He thinks I'm unfriendly and
Robbo
unpleasant.
and kids weren't two things that I would put together.
Apart from the fact I've got two of my own and three
Right, and you're
stepchildren.
going to be a grandfather.
Yeah, and I'm going to be a grandfather. as well.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, what's
the question?
Sorry.
You don't run around with your hand up asking if you can be a godfather.
No.
Somebody asks you.
Right, well, that's
Because they think.
Are you a godfather?
No.
Not surprising there.
I'm not into all those things.
What do you mean all those?
Well, like
Morals, teaching kids the right things.
Seriously, like like christenings and stuff like that. None of my kids had. I don't bother with it.
It's not all about the church,
No, I'm just saying I don't bother with anything like that. I've got the kids, and I just do what I do. I don't get involved in any of that. None.
Godfather
You know
to
what I
any?
mean?
Yes.
No middle names. Nothing.
One?
Two.
Oh, so hang on, you can't be that.
Make it mine up.
Just recently, yes, yes.
Who are they?
One of
He's
my
testing you out now.
What are their names?
Loan is
Children.
the name.
Lawan.
Yes.
And the other name?
Matthias.
You've just made those.
No, I promise.
Right, let's go.
My wife's watching right now. Like I got it
Godfather
right.
count? You're not None? Raf?
See?
Godfather?
Still waiting for anyone to ask me.
Well, there we go.
Oh, wow.
How about you?
No.
I mean, honestly, it's a lot of nonsense, isn't it?
Okay. That's one way.
What do you think Real Madrid needs to improve on during this transfer window? A centre-back or a forward? Their defence looked abysmal tonight. Glad to see Xhaka's not on vacation.
Again.
What was your question?
Real Madrid, where do they need to improve, Shaq?
Right. Oh. It's pretty obvious. The 15 Champions League goals that are missing from Cristiano Ronaldo, I think they need a centre forward, an actual killer inside the box.
I thought
who
Benzema
will they
looked
get
all right against Atleti. I thought Benzema looked all right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But he's not going to score all those goals.
No, he's not going to score 15 Champions League goals.
Nobody's going to score all those goals.
I don't know. I think Harry Kane in that system, right
You
people around
can't
him.
get Harry Kane.
Okay, well, you asked.
Well, you always suppose you can.
Well, I think it's
Don't get Harry.
It's Real Madrid.
Yeah, but Spurs aren't going to sell him now, are they?
They sold Garrett. They sold Garrett Bale.
I think it's a bit early to be having that where the Real Madrid need to improve. Is it not? I mean,
Usually during transfer time is when they talk about.
Champions League winners from last year, we're 2 or 3 months removed. They've had a bad result in the Super Cup,
Third in La Liga.
but the 2 centre backs have won it all. They've just bought a goalkeeper. The 2 full backs have won it all.
Will they win the title? La Liga?
I don't know.
Just wondering if they needed
Just saying-
improving.
Well, you can always improve, but I think it's a bit early to say, oh, did you see Varane and Ramos last night? They had a nightmare, because they've been very successful.
Raf, what are the Champions League expectations for Bayern Munich this season?
Really the same as every year. They will try to win it. They got pretty close last year with a team that wasn't that convincing overall against a team that also wasn't that convincing but had a bit more, and certainly had sort of big game changes and big game winners. Bayern have to rely more on the collective. They don't have the out-and-out superstars, and with Kovac I think they'll be very, very fit, but I wonder if tactically they'll be quite at the same level that we saw from them in the early Heinkes years and under Guardiola. So they'll be again, I think, among the last 8, among the last 4, but they're not going to be among the real favourites going into this competition.
Serie A kicks off this weekend, of course. The game's available on ESPN, ESPN Plus. Who will score more goals, Higuain or Ronaldo?
Wow.
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo. Do you know, there's a lot of people saying, well, I say there's a lot of people. It's a security guard at our complex coming in.
He's a big guy, though. he could be a lot of people.
He's a Napoli supporter.
When Stevie brought up the Everton fan.
I have heard this before. But
From the
it
same
is
security guard.
It is a security guard. Coming into the campus here at Bristol,
Right.
there's an Italian security guard on the gate, and he's a Napoli supporter, and he says it is not going to be as easy in Italy as it was in Spain
Right.
for Cristiano Ronaldo to score goals. And there has been other people saying that.
Which other ones? Who else have you spoken to?
That was
Your security guard in Southgate also said that.
the south entrance, the guy in
down
the
the
north
road.
entrance. That is true.
Hey,
No, I'm just,
Maybe he could be the godfather to his children.
I've got a bet with him.
Have you?
$5.
What's the bet?
Oh,
I
going all out.
said Ronaldo would get over 30 goals.
Oh, OK. There we go then.
He's gone under.
That's it.
Higuain
We've run out of time, Robbo. No time for your Higuain comment. Just a reminder, ESPN FC back tomorrow. A massive Serie A preview. Be sure to join us. Gab will be on, plus other guests. Stuart Robson and Xhaka with me as well in the studio.
So La Liga is coming to North America, a 15-year deal for a league game per season. Craig Burley, your thoughts?
Open-minded, which it seems a lot of people are not. a lot of people in the business we're in seem to be against it and not open-minded. I applaud the fact that people are trying to think outside the box, and I understand there are going to have to be logistics that are worked out, but this is something that's clearly been discussed at length between both parties. So there's no downside for people here in North America, absolutely no downside at all. People will look at a particular downside for the teams or the supporters in Spain. But really and truly, until as I say, I'm open-minded both ways. If somebody sits here in front of me and gives me umpteen valid reasons why this is going to be a disaster, I'll listen.
Okay.
But at the moment, I don't see where the disaster is with this. I mean, it might be might be a little difficult to start with, but it's a long-term project, and fair play to those involved.
Because the way that we watch football is changing, isn't it?
Everything's changing. You know, the way we consume TV, the way we consume all our stuff in life, is our news, our sports, everything is changing. The fan experience is changing, and that is something that and let's not forget, there could be some financial stuff involved here as well. I don't know what the finances are. I'm not particularly interested in the finances. All I'm saying is, it has been announced, it is going to happen, it is a long-term plan, and just be open-minded about it and see how it works.
Now, there will be no Clásico. We've seen that in the ICC. It's come over here.
Yeah,
They're not going to bring Real Madrid against Barcelona over.
Well,
but
at the moment.
At the moment, this is a 15-year deal. We'll see what happens. But in the past, this has been something that other leagues have looked at, the Premier League with the 39th game. This could open the floodgates to other leagues considering it if it's a success.
Well, if other leagues are relevant enough, excuse the pun, if they're relevant enough and they drive business enough and there's enough interest, then I could, well, it might be something down the line. The one thing that I don't get is a lot of people have talked about fans being fleeced. You know, and I don't mean so much here in the US. I mean, you know, when it was mooted about the Premier League, they were talking about, well, the fan experience and the fans going to miss out and blah, blah, blah. Listen, there was a report last week that the Premier League clubs could play with their stadiums half empty and still make money. So the Premier League clubs in particular get huge amounts of money via the TV deals, yet the fan still pays top dollar going to the game. So please don't give me the fan is getting fleeced, because the fan has his trousers pulled down every time he goes to a game at the moment because the prices of watching the games are so high. That's not what this is about. And people that are moaning should really not be moaning about that. And as I say, if you don't want to be open-minded about it, then fair enough. I, as the most open-minded man in the world,
really?
I haven't got an issue with it.
New La Liga season, Craig Burley with a nice easy one to begin with. Barcelona against Alaves.
If you say so, I'm going to go for Barcelona. Made some good signings and the little man's fit, but I don't like the way you've just written off Alaves there.
How do you know I've written them off?
Is it on social media that would be called disrespectful or worse?
Top of Segunda last year, very good, decent at home. That's a tough one for Sevilla away from home to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the first game of the season away from home is always tough no matter where you go, but I'm going to go for Sevilla. It'll be a tough season coming up from the second.
Yeah, but I think they'll get a draw in the opener.
Oh, you're going for a draw, yeah?
Real Madrid against Getafe.
Now, I'm going to, you know, it's got to be home, but this is going to be so much pressure for the next few weeks for Lopetegui. You know, after the Spanish debacle, after the Super Cup, post Zidane, post Ronaldo, it's going to be a great watch to see how they cope. I think they'll cope all right at the weekend, though.
Yeah. Monday, what a game. Valencia against Atleti, who looked really good against Real Madrid.
They did, and I think just watching them and seeing the players that they've brought in and the players that they've kept, and how hungry Diego Costa is, and particularly in Griezmann still there, Koke, Saal, Godin, Oblak, and then the Thomas Lamar's come in. I just think it's great for Serie. I'm going to go for a win here, but it's a tough game at the Mestalla, a really tough game to start, be a great game. But having watched them in the Super Cup, I'm just so impressed with them. What rate, guile, quality, I think they're going to really push Barca and Real Madrid all the way, and if they slip up, Atleti could win the league. So I think this will be a tough game for them, but having seen the quality they've got this summer in the Super Cup, I'm going for a win.
I think it'll be a draw. I just wonder now if you offered a point to Simeone, would he take it?
No.
I'm not sure he would.
You seen him jumping about in the sidelines? He would not take a point.
So we agree on a couple and disagree on the other two. The opening weekend of La Liga.
Worrying.
Full preview on ESPN.com.